All right, everyone. Unhappy Wednesday, everybody. Coming to you live once again from my tiny little bedroom here in my humble abode. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. Thank you, as always, for joining us tonight from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. And that thing's crooked. So, as always, pull up a chair, turn up the volume, whether you're in the car or you're sitting at home. Use the company dime if you're still stuck at work. Crack open a cold one if you are relaxing at home, or if you've got it that way, do it at work. Let's try to have a little bit of fun as we put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation, and look forward to tomorrow being Friday Eve. Figured I'd cut the music off there a little sooner. You guys saw the commercial that I used to tease the show today. It also has that music in it. Unfortunately, if I try to use anything AC/DC, Metallica, anything mainstream, we'll get dumped right off of Facebook. So this is what we got for now. Okay, until we can try to figure something else out. Anyways, I see Lou Mancini's already in the room. How you doing? Good to see you as always. So, let's get down to it here. If you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, please do not forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Green Legion. If those services are where you're comfortable, we totally get it. But the YouTube channel is the best way to view, listen, and comment. So, please do us all a solid. Even if you're using Facebook or Twitter, head on over to YouTube, search the Green Legion, subscribe, hit your little bell for notifications, and as always, share that everywhere. If you cannot catch our shows live, you can always listen or watch later on any of these services, but also on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. The only thing you can't do is live interact with my dumbass. So, sorry, my throat's a little hoarse today. Had a bit of a long day at work, so bear with me as we get through it here. As you know, the RSVPs are no longer being accepted for Green Legion road trips. We are just, roughly 24 hours away from full NFL schedule release. I know everybody's looking forward to that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Bud Light Baseball Brunch with Murph and Sack, always every weekend. Don't miss that. I think this coming weekend, is it this coming weekend or next weekend? They will be doing that live from Jackson's Lodo in Denver. If any of you out there were on the 2021 trip to Denver when the Eagles played the Broncos, Jackson's Lodo was our tailgate spot, the Green Legion tailgate spot. Place is awesome. Food was good. Drinks were great. Fun atmosphere. So Murph and Sack are going to do the show Baseball Brunch from there. And Sack, I think he said that'll be current stadium number 20 checked off his list. So he's a little ahead of me. Of course, he got a little bit of a head start because, he didn't have the kids. Anyways, what else do we got here? You guys all saw that we are this show now has its own little commercial that is going to be aired on the Bridgeport Co-Ed Softball League live streams on Sundays. So you guys have all seen Fito on here. He is the president of that league. And they'll be live streaming the games, kind of calling some of the action and whatnot. And as one of the commercials will be what you saw in the tease for today's for the Unhappy Gilmore show. So we're pretty stoked about that. Again, 51 years running that league has been, so it's got a nice, decent local regional following up there, and hoping to just get more listeners, get more subscribers, and hopefully some new Green Legion customers, right? That's what we're all in it for here. Talk a little shit, have a little fun, and try to keep pumping out the Green Legion name across social media wherever the hell we can and as frequently as we possibly can. I know for me personally, usually tomorrow and or Friday, I take the link from this show and I share it with about 15. I think it's 15 different Philadelphia Eagles groups. I also retweet it on Twitter, reshare it on YouTube. So just all for the same goal, which is to just keep getting that Green Legion name out there and keep getting more potential customers and more potential listeners to come in here and have some fun with us. Before we get down to before we get to the fun stuff, there's one more thing I I did want to mention here. Lou Mancini, what do you got here? Where is everyone? I showered. I don't know, man. Look, if the weather's as nice as it is, if the weather is as nice there as it is here right now, I don't blame anybody for not wanting to sit down and watch a podcast. It is absolutely beautiful out there. I've got the luxury of having two sons, one almost 16, one almost 13. So they're out cutting the grass right now. So I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, Lou, there you go. It's gorgeous. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at the at the low head count. It's absolutely beautiful here too, but we're still going to do our thing tonight. And maybe it'll just be a quicker show. Who knows? But again, one more thing I did want to just briefly go over before we get into the fun stuff here. You've all seen this show air live from the Back Porch Saloon here out here in Cincinnati. You've listened to me on here push our Midwest Eagles Nest group that we've built and are still trying to build. Talking about what we're doing, get-togethers, getting together for game day, what kind of food and stuff we could do to decorate the place. Trying more and more as time goes by to turn it into a full-fledged Eagles bar here. The way I figured it is I could use this platform to push that agenda, which, in turn should lead to more listeners and followers for the Green Legion and potential customers for the Green Legion. It all ties back to the Green Legion, guys. Okay. I'm very happy with what we've built here, and I want to continue building that for us. But part of that is to try to get more folks to share and listen and subscribe and hopefully go on some of the road trips. And then when the Eagles come here next year, all you, any of my Midwest Eagles Nest group here that is either listening now or listens later, when the Eagles come here, if the Green Legion comes too, you guys better at least sign up for the tailgate. Okay. Don't make me look bad. But also to drum up more business for the Back Porch. I mean, the place has been a big part of my life. It's where I met my wife. It's where, I met one of my best friends on the planet in Mike. You've seen him on this show. But to be clear, this is a podcast that I host through the Green Legion. Okay. Not through anywhere else. I'm not compensated by the Back Porch at all. They do not, that's not what this is about. I do this through the Green Legion. Anyone who we've been fortunate enough to have on as a guest, whether it was Fito, Sam, our friend Jason came on. Mike has been on a number of times. Lou popped in last week. And we are fortunate for whoever can give us, even if it's 5 minutes of your time. Chris Sack has been on. Lou Dominguez has been in here with us. But they are guests, right? Unless we're talking about Quimby, Diaz, Sam, Sack, these are folks that work directly for the Green Legion. So, they're a little bit more than guests. They're here to help me and have some fun with us, working for the Green Legion. But that's where we are. It's a Green Legion radio podcast. Okay. So I started to get some whispers coming from, a little bit of the Back Porch that this was something that was shared with folks that work there. And I am thrilled that I can do the show from there. I'm happy to do it from there. Whenever it works for myself and for them and for Mike. And I'm thrilled that it helps us build that Midwest Eagles Nest group, and I'm thrilled that it helps bring more business into the back porch. But this is a podcast that I host through the Green Legion. All right, it is not a shared venture with anything else. So I just, I know I think there's been some folks out there getting that a little bit confused, and so to set the record straight, there we are. It's a good time. I am, like I said, I am thrilled for whoever would like to come on and give up a few minutes or whatever, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the full hour. Sometimes we run over an hour. You guys have seen the Friday night unhappy hours where Fito and I go for. The first one was about 4 hours. Second one was 2.5. So it's a good time. And, I want everyone to interact, and I want everyone to feel like they're, like we're having fun together. But, we have to understand where lines are drawn as well. So that's that. Anyways, looks like, Lou, it might just be you and me tonight, bud. Like I said, if the weather's that gorgeous out there, I really don't blame anyone. As I do every week, we're going to put this up anyways, just in case there's anyone out there who wants to pop in. Judging by the turnout so far, I kind of doubt it, but there we go. All right. Lou says, what? Green Legion tailgate is legit, and in my opinion, at a more than reasonable price. And it is, even on the road, guys. It's not like it's breaking the bank. When you think about the tailgate, it's a 4-hour tailgate most of the time prior to the game. And it's all you can eat, all you can drink for those 4 hours. So if you even talk about $100 or $150 a person, well, think about sitting at a bar for 4 hours prior to a game and eating all you want and drinking all you want and paying one flat rate rather than having to pay it all a la carte. Especially when you get to these, Green Legion's always got the tailgate, right in and around the Battery or whatever area around the stadium. So your drink prices are that much higher. Think about just drinking beers at $6-7 a pop for 4 hours. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have 2 per hour? Say you're 2 per hour, right? I might call you lightweight, but let's just say it's 2 per hour. So that's 8 times 7 or 8. Let's call it 7. All right, so $56. Plus you're going to eat, right? So now you're talking about a $13 cheeseburger and whatever else. And then you're going to tip. You pay the flat rate and you don't have to worry about it. I tip your bartenders, but I mean, come on. It's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. I would tell you the entire travel package is a no-brainer. Sometimes it can be, there's some that have been a little high. But the experience you get out of it and, the family atmosphere, the groups within the groups, it's an awesome experience. And I don't know why, you live once, right? Even if you only do it once, you live once, just book it. And when you're only talking about a tailgate or a ticket and tailgate, it is absolutely a no-brainer. So I don't know what people wait for, but I've warned everyone on social media and wherever else and on this show, if you think you're going to wait until August or September and be able to just jump on whatever trip you want, I got it. I got news for you. That ain't going to happen. So if there's a trip out there that you have in mind, the early bird RSVPs are no longer being accepted. Full packages should be out shortly after the full schedule gets released. Jump on it right away, or you're going to miss out. Every year there's hot ticket ones, right? I'm sure Los Angeles is going to be a huge hot ticket one. My wife and I already have our early bird deposited in for that. We did that as soon as they became available. Kansas City is another one. That one, they did not take any early bird. They released the full package, assuming that the game at Kansas City would be the first game of the year, September 3rd, that Thursday night, or September 7th, that Thursday night. Don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. What else is out there? Tampa's another one. That absolutely a spot you want to visit. Gorgeous down there. Hot ticket item, right? Easy flight down from Philly and back up. So, I mean, if you got a wish list, when as soon as those packages get released, guys, I'm telling you, jump all over it, or you will miss out. So that's where we're at. Keenan Harmon enters the room. How you doing, my friend? I already mentioned that you're disgusted by my by the unhappy Gilmore commercial also having the god awful intro music. So we've covered that already. All right. So, anyways, let's move forward. This is usually the point in the show where we do the boner of the week, right? Where we start to have some fun. And there's generally always at least a couple of candidates that we can kind of pick on, banter about, and have some fun with. We're usually able to narrow it down to just one, and that's the winner. Before we keep moving, it just wouldn't be a week, David, without Califoot telling me the Yankees suck. How you doing, my friend? Anyways, so this week, as far as the boner of the week goes, things really came off the rails over this past week, and we're going to talk about three guys in particular in the tease for the show today. I did mention we're going to spend much more time on this today than we really ever have. And then we'll get into some schedule stuff, and then we're probably going to call it a night. Because the weather's nice. I'm sure you all want to get outside. I'd like to just sit out in my driveway. But anyways, so I wasn't able to narrow it down to just one this week. It was there are three, and I'm gonna go through them in order in escalating order of dumbassery, right? And shit human behavior. So let's start with Antonio Brown, right? We've not had him in this mix yet, but it probably should have at this point. I mean, we all know he's had rearage with child support. I mean, he got arrested. He had to pay he had to pay like $30,000 just to get bonded out, and that would go towards what he was in rears for. To a woman that last year he was arrested. There was an arrest warrant for him for domestic battery charges. All right, so set the tone there. We all know Antonio Brown, not exactly, we didn't exactly break the mold when he was created. Okay. But let's, for these purposes, we're going to keep it sports related. Purchases part of the Albany Empire of the Arena Football League. Okay. So now that there are reports of all the dysfunction in the franchise and whatnot, now he claims he doesn't own it, right? He says his representatives, get this, his representatives state that the team is owned by Antonio El Allah Express Trust Enterprises. I mean, is this a hedge fund or is this some made up nonsense? In his statement denying the ownership, he claims he is a foreign national who wasn't born in the United States, even though all accounts that you can find everywhere else shows that he was born in Miami. So Lou, Ashley, do you claim Antonio Brown down there? Now, of course, yeah. So Russ Taylor in the room. What's up, Russ? As Russ states here, we're going to get into this. Could not pay his players. As I'm sure you've all seen, there's been memes, there's been articles, there's been all kinds of stuff. Brown, as owner of the franchise, has been accused of not paying the players and coaches, has been accused of using NFL footage for his commercials for his team, and even gone so far as to lock players and or coaches out of their hotel rooms. These accusations made recently by recently fired head coach Damon Ware in an interview with TMZ. I mean, you're not paying your players. What did you think owning a football team? You have to pay your employees, buddy. That's just kind of the way it goes, right? Russ Taylor over here. Dumbassery, did you hear two players got ejected for a national anthem standoff before the Phillies game? I did not. And here I thought my plate of boner of the week was full. So go ahead and give us those details as soon as you got that. Russ, because I would love to hear about that. So back to Antonio Brown. You have to pay your players. You have to pay your coaches. When you travel, when you have a team travel, you got to let players into hotel rooms. No, you are not part of the NFL anymore, even though you're only 34 years old and could for damn sure still be playing. You decided to be a knuckle fuck instead, and now you're part owner of the Albany Empire, which, if I could think of some place that I probably would never want to start a business or own part of a business, I don't think I'd ever want to be in Albany, New York. Right? I mean, there's a few other places too, like Mississippi. But Albany, New York would be somewhere on the list of I'll pass. So here we have a former all-pro wide receiver, right? A guy who, for at least a good block of years there, he had a claim to make as the best wide receiver in the league, right? And I don't think anybody would argue with that. And the numbers he was putting up, especially with Roethlisberger throwing him the ball, I mean, he was at or near the top of the league every single year. You're talking 928 career catches, 12,291 yards, 83 touchdowns, and a Super Bowl championship. So all of this knucklehead behavior for the last, what are we on, 5 years now with him now? 4 or 5 years now with all this? What happened? Did he get his bell rung that many times and he just finally lost it? Is it CTE? Personally, I think that does have something to do with it. I don't know if you guys remember the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cincinnati Bengals playoff game back in 2015. I was traveling for work in Atlanta, went to a place called Taco Mac with my uncle, and we watched that game. And that was the one where the Bengals had the game won and just completely collapsed at the end. Part of that collapse is Vontaze Burfict absolutely destroyed Antonio Brown, right? He led with the helmet, didn't hit helmet to helmet, but he smashed Brown's head with his shoulder, and I mean full force. It feels a lot like Antonio Brown has not been right since that hit. So, I'm not going to make excuses for him. He's an absolute mess, right? And he's making a mess out of everything around him. But that hit definitely seems to have, sometimes you can say a hit woke people up. I think that one put him out, man. That was pretty much it. All right, before we get to our next candidate, let me get over here to Russ, who's talking about this. So what was it? Dumbassery, did you hear 2 players got ejected for a national anthem standoff before the Phillies game? Okay, Russ, you got some details for us here. Rockies and Phillies over the weekend, 2 players did the national anthem standoff, and the starting pitcher had finished his warm-up, and the umpire tried to call their bluff, and they didn't move. Okay. He had it and ejected both of them before the game even started. I mean, dude, why is this a thing? Now, that doesn't make our list because the next 2 guys are way worse than that and even worse than Brown. But I don't even understand why that's a thing. Lou Mancini was that dick douche. What else do we have here? Russ Taylor. I wish I could look at a $1 bill like the way Diddy did at Madison Square Garden when that vendor gave him change, right? And Russ, once again, I believe Antonio had his bell rung and didn't have it diagnosed, and then he played before he showed up. Yeah, look, if you can go YouTube that Vontaze Burfict Antonio Brown hit, and it comes right up. Just watch that footage, and it is brutal. And then he hit. And then the way he goes down, his head and neck kind of jar around again. I mean, and he hasn't been right since that hit. Let's move on to our second candidate, shall we? Yeah. Next idiot on the list, Bob Huggins. Everybody know who Bob Huggins is? The head basketball coach at the University of West Virginia. Formerly head basketball coach here in Cincinnati. You guys hear about what this moron did? So I'm going to have to be careful here not to actually say the words that some of these idiots are saying, because I get on a roll and I'm just trying to tell you what went on and I don't want to slip and say it. Um, so he goes on the Bill Cunningham show, and here, it's broadcast here in Cincinnati on 700 AM WLW. Bill Cunningham and his co-host Steve Moeller. So stepping away from Huggins for just a minute, and Mancini, you're right with the homophobe comment. Stepping away from Huggins for just a moment, the two hosts have got to get some heat on this too. Okay, so for one, if you listen to it, now I didn't listen. All I heard was the portion where Huggins said what he said. But it doesn't appear, from everything else I've listened to on talk radio, sports talk radio, doesn't appear that Cunningham and Moeller actually told Huggins that he was live. Right? And then after Huggins says what he says, all three of them share in like pretty loud laughter about the whole thing. So shame on them as well. No, they didn't actually say it, but it's kind of like accessory, right? Like just because you didn't shoot the hostage doesn't mean you didn't. Anyways, Huggins, the former UC Bearcat head coach, as I mentioned before, was asked if any Xavier players had popped on his radar when building out his West Virginia roster through the transfer portal. Transfer portal becoming more and more of a thing, pretty much like by the day, sometimes by the hour. Now with all the NIL money that can be paid out to these kids. You just saw Dickinson, the kid from Michigan, transfer out to Kansas. That's dangerous. Anyways, he responds by saying any school, he's talking about Xavier, any school that can throw rubber penises on the floor, say they didn't do it, and just get away with it, well, they can get away with anything. And he laughs. And they all laugh, right? There's really no harm there. Then he's asked by Cunningham if that incident took place during the Crosstown shootout on transgender night, right? So Crosstown shootout, for those of you that aren't aware, that aren't big college basketball fans, Crosstown shootout here in this area is when UC plays Xavier. Happens every year, and it's a really, really big deal around here. So, Huggins, when he was the coach at UC, Xavier folks were throwing basically dildos onto the court. So he's asked if that took place during the Crosstown shootout. He responds with, yes, it was the Crosstown shootout. Yeah, it was. It was all talking about the Xavier fans and whoever Xavier related. It was all those Catholic, homophobic slur. Okay. Begins with an F, describes usually a male. I'll let you guys figure it out. I'm not going to say it on here. He says this live on WLW during the Bill Cunningham show. Right. Now, and like I said, doesn't appear that he was warned that he was live. He's friends with, I think it's Moeller. I think actually Moeller was on his staff when he coached here at UC. So the phone call was placed to Huggins. They start talking. This conversation happens. It doesn't appear that Huggins was ever warned that this was a live thing. Now, you can't excuse what he said, but these hosts have to take some smoke too. I'm sorry, you can't just get away with that. That's ridiculous. So now here's Bob Huggins, who, I mean, this isn't his first time on the wrong side of the spotlight, right? He's had the thing pointed in his face before for some bad stuff. 2004, he was arrested for DUI when he was the coach here at UC. And that later did lead to his resignation from the UC program. And now with this, he's going to have to carry this for at least the rest of his career. Definitely the rest of his life. Now, he was not dismissed as the head coach. I know a lot of course, social media just explodes, right? And you have the people on way over on this side saying, oh, leave him alone. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. And you have the people way over on this side that are saying he should be fired, he should be prosecuted, he should be burned at the stake, and blah. And then the truth of it all is the rest of us that are somewhere in the middle who actually think logically. And, should he have been fired? I would tell you if he wasn't a Hall of Fame coach, if he didn't have a career record of 934 and 415 with 2 Final Four appearances, yeah, he probably loses his job if he's not that guy, right? I mean, we've seen other people slip and say, right here in Cincinnati again, Tom Brenneman, Marty Brenneman's son, he made a homophobic, comment last year or the year before, and he was fired. Huggins, I understand Huggins, obviously carries more clout than an announcer, but you could make the case that he should have been fired. But they didn't do that. Instead, he is going to serve a 3-game suspension. He has his salary reduced by $1 million. And he's required to attend sensitivity training. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Bob Huggins before, or if you've heard him speak before. And I'm not talking about this particular instance where he was talking about, what he was talking about. I'm talking about just in general. I don't think the sensitivity classes are going to go real well. Okay. Now, it's a box he's going to have to check because, well, nowadays you're under the spotlight no matter where you go. But I just don't see him. I don't see him doing well with sensitivity training. However, and all of that broke already. If you've read anything about it, you saw the $1 million reduction in his salary. You saw the 3-game suspension. You saw the sensitivity training stuff. I'm not sure if you saw what I think is the most important part of his punishment, and that is his contract has been amended. So he had a multi-year agreement with West Virginia, right? He's an incredibly successful head coach. Now, he's not won a national championship, but he contends every single year, pretty much. He had the multi-year deal with West Virginia. That has been amended to an agreement that is now a year-by-year contract, right? It's like paying month-to-month rent. So that year-by-year starts today, May 10th, and it expires on April 30th of next year. So what does that tell us, right? They had to make the splash. You're going to sensitivity training. We're suspending you for 3 games. No, we're not going to fire you, but we're going to reduce your salary by $1 million. That sets a pretty solid precedent. So now if somebody else were to make these comments, if some other coach or some other, prominent figure in sports or wherever, let's just use sports because that's what we're all about here, makes those sorts of comments, that's now the benchmark, right? Lou Mancini, yes, Huggins was at Cincinnati. That $1 million fine is now the benchmark, right, for this sort of offense. So, you can't take another, like, what if Tom Izzo at Michigan State slipped up and said something like that? You can't then go and fine him only $250,000. Let me hop over here for a second. Lou Mancini, yes. Bob Huggins was here at UC years ago. He was dismissed. Kind of resignation in 2005. It was and then Russ Taylor, he is currently the coach at West Virginia. So, but like I was saying, that $1 million fine for people who say stuff like this is now the benchmark. So, like I said, if Tom Izzo at Michigan State, right, another big name, prominent head coach, if he's on some local radio show and he slips up and makes a homophobic statement, you can't then fine him only $250,000. You got to whack him for the $1 million. You have to, because this is now the precedent. But that contract being amended to a year-by-year, which the current year-by-year, this year, starts today, ends on April 30th next year. What are they really saying, guys? I think what they're saying is, they've positioned themselves to move on at the end of the upcoming season, right? His contract will expire on April 30th, 2024. So unless, and I hate to even say it like this, but let's be honest, the only reason why he still has his job is because he's a Hall of Fame coach and he's very good at his job. Unless he delivers a huge season for West Virginia, I would be a bit surprised if he was the head coach at West Virginia starting the 24-25 season. All right, let's get a little reaction from you guys here. What were you guys talking about up here? Something about Victoria's Secret? That always catches my eye, right? Russ Taylor, you're missing the big picture with Huggins catching that fine. Huggins and as a state employee. Well, he's the head coach at West Virginia, and his contract ends on April 30th next year. That's what we're down to here. So, state employee or not, it really doesn't feel like he's going to be in that position past April 30th of 2024. Now, we'll have to wait and see, right? I mean, if they come out and they make a Final Four or God, or maybe even further, who knows? And maybe things change. Maybe he holds on to it. Maybe they re-amend his contract. Maybe the sensitivity training goes so well that he becomes, I don't know, a born-again Christian, and he's, he embraces Xavier University. I don't know. Right now, it ain't looking too good for Huggy Bear as far as the future. And to be honest with you, look, the guy's 69 years old. Okay, he's won. What did I say it was? 934 basketball games. He's probably going to push that up over 950 this year. I don't know what else he really has to prove, except now, if he wants to remain a prominent figure in that game, he's going to have to prove to everyone that he can change the way he behaves. I don't know that he ever really did after the DUI here in Cincinnati. He's never been the most sensitive guy to begin with. So at his age, I don't know that he really gives a shit. Time will tell. He actually used to, when he was here at UC, he actually used to go into the back porch to eat occasionally. And Michelle, my wife, actually did wait on him a couple different times. She said he was always very nice when he would come in to eat. But, he's a bigger guy, so, big guys like to eat, man. So I don't know how upset he could possibly be with food coming, right? But anyways. Let's see here. Russ Taylor again. They have positioned themselves to hit other state employees for remarks like that, especially the ones in public. Oh, that's what you're getting at. I understand what you're saying. So, yeah, and that's that's a West Virginia thing. I'm talking about overall national. No matter whether it's in West Virginia with a state employee, or if it's the head coach at UCLA, Texas, UConn, Michigan State, or wherever, that $1 million fine is now the benchmark for folks when they you could just fire the person and then they're out even more than that. But if you're going to retain the person as an employee, as the head coach, that $1 million fine is now the baseline. Okay. And finally, we're going to get to the most disgusting one, the most repulsive one, the one who, if we're going to vote on these three, this idiot would definitely get my vote. I don't have a whole lot of background on this guy. I didn't want to get into a lot of background on this guy. You hear about people, slipping up, saying the wrong things, and I understand it happens, but this situation felt very much different to me than I don't know. Look, he was very apologetic. Let's just get to it. So, the biggest idiot of the week, Oakland A's announcer Glenn Kuiper. I don't know if anybody out there heard about this. No, Lou, not the punter. Oakland A's announcer Glenn Kuiper. Anybody else hear about this? Chris Sack, Lou Dominguez, and I were texting about this last night. Last night or night, I think it was 2 nights ago. And so during the broadcast on NBC Sports California for a game with the A's at Royals, Kuiper and his co-host is former pitcher Dallas Braden. They were disgusting. Well, it is disgusting. They were discussing what they had done during the day in Kansas City. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Kansas City. Obviously, the barbecue is is a must-have. There's some historical sites. My boys and I were out there in 2019, and we took, as part of our big baseball trip we took that year. And before we went to the Royals game that morning, we got over to it's just outside of downtown, in between the stadium and downtown, and it's the Negro League Museum. And I will tell you, like, I had my boys with me, and at the time, so 2019, this is 4 years ago. So Grady's 12, Liam's 9, and it was if I didn't have my boys with me, I could have spent the whole day there, and probably longer than that. The amount of history and just great stuff they have in that place. There's one portion of it where they have a baseball diamond, smaller, of course, and they have bronze statues of prominent Negro League players at their respective positions. So, like, Josh Gibson's behind the plate, Satchel Paige is on the mound, stuff like that. I mean, just such a, and it shares. So you walk in the front entrance, and it was to the left was the Jazz Museum, and to the right was the Negro League Baseball Museum, or vice versa. So, anyways, Kuiper opens the show by discussing that him and Dallas Braden had gone, what they had done that day. So he tries to tell the viewing audience that they went to the Negro League Museum. But instead of saying Negro, he said, I think you guys can figure out what he said, on live air, and not radio, television. So later in the broadcast, he did issue an apology, stating that it didn't come out the way he wanted it to. And on this past Saturday, Kuiper was suspended indefinitely for the racial slur, and rightfully so. You can't look, what Huggins said was bad enough. What this guy said, to me, you have racially and sexually insensitive terms that you just can't, you just can't say them, right? And it shouldn't be in your vocabulary. If it is, that's on you, but it shouldn't be in your vocabulary. And it definitely can't be in your vocabulary when you're on live television, okay? Or live radio. Like, I think this is a good point for comparison of, you see Bob Huggins kept his job, Hall of Fame coach, 934 wins. Glenn Kuiper was ousted almost immediately. Now, I would tell you, personally, my opinion, I think what Kuiper said was worse. But the context in which the two of them said their respective racials and, insensitive slurs, totally different. Kuiper said it in the context of, I went to this place. Huggins said his in the context of just calling people what he called them. And there's no excuse for either of them. And, Glenn Kuiper, whether or not he's actually a racist or not, I can't speculate that. I don't know the man. I don't pretend to know him. All I can tell you is I have watched that video a couple of different times. And I get, it didn't come out the way he wanted. He's very sorry, as well he should be. But if you watch the video, man, I'm sorry to say it, but that word came rolling off his tongue way too easy and comfortable. Like, That felt like a word that he might be throwing around, in his private groups or whatever, semi regularly. I mean, it just like it wasn't even like he stuttered about it, didn't slip, just bam, said it. And like I didn't know what had happened, right? So Dave Conant, who I've not seen on here in a couple of weeks, but I do know he's been very busy. He's the one that texted to me and told me, you got, to just look this up type of thing. Or actually I think he had said, Kuiper's got to be your boner of the week. So I was going with Antonio Brown at that point. This is Monday. I had no idea what had happened with Kuiper. Given the weekend that I had, I was in the Hall of Fame and all that shit. I didn't have time to really watch anything. And to Russ's point earlier, who the hell watches A's games aside from Dave Conant? But so I'm at the dinner table and we're just having brats and potatoes, right, for dinner. So if it's loose, it's laid back, I pull up my phone. And I said, well, let me just check and see. And I pull up the clip. And I've got the volume up, and I'm thinking, well, how bad could it be? So I'm sitting at the head of the table. Right here is my 12-year-old. Right here is my 15-year-old. Right here is my 9-year-old daughter. Directly across from me at the other head of the table is my wife. And I've got the volume turned up. And he says it, and I drop the phone like, well, what I didn't realize is it was just going to keep playing on a loop. So, after about a second or two, I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm grabbing the phone, trying to shut it off. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring light to an otherwise ugly situation. But like I said, I would tell you that word came rolling off his tongue a little too easy for me to fully believe. I guess I believe him that it didn't come out the way he wanted it to on the live broadcast. But that word came off his tongue so easily that I'm not so sure off screen, off camera, no hot mic, that he's not talking to his buddies, saying to them exactly what he ended up saying on live television. And for all those reasons and more, I agree with the fact that he's fired. I mean, especially nowadays, right? I mean, there should have never been a time when that was acceptable. Unfortunately, there was a time when that kind of crap was acceptable. But now, oh my God, if they had retained him, think about all the bad publicity the A's already dealing with, right? All the Oakland crap and moving to Vegas and all this. Now you get this idiot dropping racial slurs during a broadcast. Forget it. You had to fire him. And it's the right move. Forget all the other stuff. You had to fire him regardless, but my God. Anyways, so Lou Mancini, how the fuck does a professional, at least alleged, do it? That's what I want to know. So when Chris and I were texting about it, to hit to Chris's point, and I give him credit, he, you have to be careful, right? And not that word is in our vocabulary, but you got to be careful. I mean, just God forbid, say for the sake of argument. That's why you saw how careful I was when I was reciting what had gone on, right? Say for the sake of argument, that's in your head about what Kuiper said, and you're going to talk about it, and like I just did. But let's say I slipped up when I went to go talk about the museum. I mean, things can slip, but you can tell when something's a legit slip. Like people, they immediately catch themselves, face turns pale white. That didn't happen with this guy. I don't even think he realized he did it. Anyways. All right. Lou Mancini, I vote for both. Let's call it the double dong. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, let's do that. So Bob Huggins, West Virginia University basketball coach, and Glenn Kuiper, former Oakland A's television announcer. You two share the boner of the week, which for this week, per Lou Mancini, we are calling the double dong. Right? So there's your recap of the cornucopia of douchebaggery that transpired recently. Like I said, when we opened the segment, I know we like to have fun with it, right? And it's usually a very fun part of the show. But wow. Just wow. And let me close this portion of it by saying I'm well aware that none of us are innocent. Okay. Throughout the course of our lives, we've all done things and said things that we regret, whether immediately or somewhere down the road. Um, used words we shouldn't have, whatever the case may be. So, I don't want to sit up here and act, holier than thou, but I'm also not calling an A's game. Okay. And I can tell you if I was, you better believe I would be. You saw how careful I was reading that, knowing what was on my mind about what the man had actually said. You imagine, and I'm just a small time shitbag with a podcast. When you're on a national broadcast, well, national, but at least a regional broadcast, you're broadcasting for a professional sports franchise. You can't. I don't get it. I don't get how these guys make that mistake. Right? It's just it's baffling to me. Anyways, Russ Taylor. I'll have him over for dinner so we can have fried chicken and watermelon and wash it down with some Gulf. Oh, Russ, you win the internet for this week, dude. Oh my God. Looks like there's no sex in the champagne room. Holy shit. Oh, I was not ready for that. All right. Let's I told you we were going to spend the boner of the week was going to take up most of the show tonight, and it's because there were three of them, and the level of douchebaggery I think deserved the time that we gave to it. So I was going to talk about a punter that Matt Araiza. I think maybe we'll skip it for now. We'll see if there's going to be if there's going to be action there. This is a young man who was got let go by Buffalo after all the accusations of rape and stuff like that. Turns out all those accusations were false. And this kid apparently was like thunder leg, right? At an 82-yard punt when he was in college, right? He's like if there's a such thing as a generational punter, this kid was it. And unfortunately, these statements by some other young lady may have cost him his career. Now, I know the Philadelphia Eagles have always been an organization that, prides themselves on integrity and things like that. But, they've also given other guys chances, at redemption. So if we need a punter, it might not be the worst thing in the world to bring this kid in and see if he's actually got anything. That's all I'm going to go with that. I do want to tell you, nice job by your Sixers last night. Just real brief, want to touch on that. I'm not going to sit up here and try to profess like I'm Diaz, like I know all the ins and outs of your Sixers. I don't, but I think what you saw last night was the Sixers in their best form, right? As far as the way the team is currently constructed, right? Like the best form of the Sixers is Harden distributing first, scoring second, with Embiid obviously being that guy, and Tyrese Maxey, having himself a decent night too. Tobias Harris getting himself a double-double. That was the best form of the Sixers I think you could see. It was last night. Tonight, NBA playoff-wise, we have two possible closeout games. One of them at Madison Square Garden, where the Miami Heat are up at the Garden to try to knock the Knicks out of the playoffs. As far as the Knicks go, two biggest things in this series. Well, not just two, but there's a bunch. The three-point shooting's been absolutely atrocious. RJ Barrett has the highest three-point percentage on the team in the playoffs. He's the only one at 40%. Jalen Brunson's at 28. Randall, I don't even want to talk about it. Julius Randle proving once again exactly what myself and a lot of other people have said. He is not an alpha. He is not your lead dog, right? He is much better served as a second option. And with the Knicks now having Brunson and an RJ Barrett that appears to have found himself, I'm not sure there's room for Jules anymore. And I don't think there should be. He has been atrocious in these playoffs. He was atrocious in the playoffs 2 years ago. You make all excuses in the world about how he tweaked his ankle at the end of the regular season, tweaked it again during the Cleveland series. Look, big-time players come up big in big-time games, and Julius Randle is just not that guy. Jimmy Butler, for the Heat, on the other hand, is every bit that guy. And the most glaring difference between the Heat and the Knicks, to me, having watched a bunch of the series, is the coaching. Look, I'll give Tibbs credit. The roster's not great. Brunson had a big year. Jules was solid during the regular season, and RJ was kind of up and down. But overall, the roster's not all that awesome. So good job getting the 5 seed. Good job taking out Cleveland as the 4 in the opening round. But he is way over his skis coaching against Spoelstra. And it is so obvious. The man prides himself on being defensive-minded first. When the Heat come up the floor, anybody who's watching the NBA playoffs, take a look at it tonight if you get the chance. Heat come up the floor, the New York defensive set is great on that first push up the floor by the Heat. If there's a shot and an offensive rebound or what have you, a tipped pass and then a re-entry and all of that stuff, the Knicks look lost defensively in those moments, okay? You can see the Heat making the extra pass. Everybody on the Knicks is out of position. They're scrambling to try to get in people's face, and then there's nobody under to grab rebounds. It's a mess. And I am not going to be at all surprised if the Miami Heat end that series tonight. The other possible closeout you have tonight is I think it's the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. And that one is in Golden State. Is at Warriors. And I don't think – look, if I had to bet on the game tonight, I would bet on the Warriors. I mean, this is a team that has championship pedigree. They're defending champions. They're at home, backs against the wall. You expect Steph and Clay to come up big tonight. Mike Greenberg on ESPN was dumb enough to make a statement saying that he feels that he is so convinced that the Warriors are going to win this game tonight regardless – that he thinks the Lakers should sit LeBron and Davis tonight and just mail it in, take it back to LA and win the series there. Dumbest thing I've heard in the last decade, right? Maybe he should have been on the Boner of the Week stuff for that comment alone. Look, when you're up against a franchise like the Golden State Warriors, who has a championship pedigree, who comes in as a defending champs, who has the best shooter anyone's ever seen, and is going to go down as one of the best players anyone's ever seen, and you have a chance to step on their throat and end it, you step on their throat and end it. I don't care where they're playing the game. At Golden State, at LA, on the fucking moon, you just end it. You put your best foot forward to end it. Right? Now, if we get to late in the third quarter and the Warriors are up 20, then maybe you start talking about, okay, let's just mail it in and move on. But if you've got a chance to take them down, you do it. And I know, don't get it messed up. You guys all know I can't stand LeBron James. So I'm not rooting for it. But you're an idiot if you don't play him, right? What Greenberg said was absolutely foolish. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The other thing I would tell you is, as much as I expect Golden State to probably win the game tonight, we've seen a lot of Anthony Davis having big nights, right? 30 points, 20 rebounds, 25 points, 18 rebounds, shit like that. We haven't heard much from LeBron. Sooner or later, he is going to deliver a big game. And it would not at all surprise me if that game happened tonight. And like I said, I do expect the Warriors to win, but I'm not going to be surprised if LeBron comes out, goes for 35 to 40 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, and ends it for the Warriors as well. Again, if I was a betting man, I would bet I would take the Warriors. If I was gonna bet on the Lakers, it would just be the money line, right? I'm not going to give any points. I'm just going to bet the money line. So, anyways, just wanted to touch on the NBA real quick, and now to finish the show, how about that NFL schedule, right? Look, guys, if you're like me, and I'm assuming you are, if you're listening to this show, or if you've ever listened before, the NFL schedule release has a lot of significance for you. I know for us here, the wife and I, we pick out an away game every year. We put in our early bird RSVP with the Green Legion for that trip, and then we anxiously wait to see the dates that the game's going to get played and the overall prices. In 2018, despite living in Smyrna, Tennessee, which is a half an hour south of Nashville, 20 minutes south of Nashville, we still did the Nashville trip full on, stayed at the hotel and everything. 2020, we went to Punta Cana. That was great. 2021, Denver. 2022, we were Arizona and Indy. I've hooked up with these guys when I was traveling for work out on the road. I've done the tailgates in Philly. I don't just say it because I do a podcast with Green Legion. I say it because it's the truth. There is no better way to have the fan experience of an away game or a home tailgate than doing it with the Green Legion. They're the best. They have been for years. And I understand there's competition. I understand some of the competition also does a good job. Philly sports trips and stuff like that. To me, there's only one way to go. And it is easily the Green Legion. So this year, we've got our fingers crossed for Los Angeles, right? We don't know anything about that game yet. And I've been on here with you guys for a little over an hour, so I've not been checking if there's any more leaks that have come out. Lou Mancini, what were you saying here? Does Grady like Embiid? I'm not sure if he likes Embiid. I don't know. I like Embiid. My only problem with Embiid is that I think for such a big guy, he's a little soft. That's the only trouble I've got with him. Lou Mancini, you going to England having spotted duck? No. So let's talk about what we do know as far as this is accurate as of the start of our show tonight. Okay. What we do know is that we will play the Giants on Christmas Day. There were some rumors that we were also going to play them on Black Friday. That has gone away, and it looks like that's going to be the Dolphins at Jets. So again, Lou and Ashley, that 305 sports travel fired up. There's also rumors of San Fran coming to Philly in December. I wish to God I could get back for that game, but anything too close to Christmas makes it very difficult, which bums me out because there's also rumors that our Birds are going to play at Tampa in December. So LA being our number one choice, our fallback option was easily Tampa Bay. And we've got friends down there. The man, one of my best friends on the planet. He's more than a friend. He's a brother. And he has been for 20 plus years. He was the best man at my wedding. He does all the tree work for Raymond James Stadium and George Steinbrenner Field. And we were just, Tampa was something. I was considering Tampa as a second trip, even if we were able to go to LA, depending on how the dates fell. Because, go down there, we get to spend time with our friends, and, we buy the tailgate with the Legion, and we go to the game with our friends if he's got, a line to get tickets or whatever. But unfortunately, if that game does happen in December, that's going to rule it out for me. We also know the Birds are not playing any international games. Thank God. But let's take a look at who is. Now, I say thank God with that. Keep in mind, we're trying to keep our own group running out here, Midwest Eagles Nest. We get together for all the games. We get together at the back porch, right? Primetime games are hard enough, given people have to work the next morning. Trying to get people together at 8:30 in the morning because we're playing a game in London, not an easy task when you're just trying to start a group. I understand Green Legion. You guys, Green Legion can pull off a lot more than I can. There's a place called Gano Tavern that's across town here. That would probably be the spot we'd have to go to. unless I can talk Mike into opening the porch for breakfast. But anyways, we know we're not playing internationally, but let's take a look at who is. The Falcons and Jaguars will play in London for week 4. The Jaguars and Bills will play in Tottenham week 5. So the Jaguars, despite the fact that they are over there every single year, now become the first team to play back-to-back games overseas. In week 6, we're going to get the Ravens and Titans in Tottenham. In week 9, we're going to get the Dolphins and Chiefs in Frankfurt, Germany. So, Lou Dominguez, Ashley 305 Sports Babe, get your 305 sports travel internationally tested right out of the gates. Congratulations. I mean, you got a couple. I mean, just the 2 games we just talked about with the Fish is a really big deal, right? Playing the Chiefs in Germany, and then it looks like the Black Friday game at Jets in New York. So a couple of real good ones for you right out of the gate, and I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys, man. I can't wait to see what you pull off. And then the last international game is going to be Colts at Pats in Frankfurt, week 10. So that's your international schedule right now. I've not looked up any other leagues. I'm going to do that when we're off of here while I'm trying to eat dinner. So you guys know where we're looking forward to going. Trying to go to LA. Tampa would have been nice, but if that rumor is true that it's being played in December, then we're not going to know. We're not going to be able to go, and it would also take it out of the mix. So now I got to start looking to see if there's a third option for us, because us having the kids, there's dates that just don't work, right? Halloween, my daughter's 9, she still likes to go trick or treating, so anywhere around there is a problem. Obviously Thanksgiving, Christmas. Really, once you get, I'd say that first weekend in December would probably still be okay, but I get very hesitant to even look at it because we're already spending a lot of money on Christmas shopping. So it's like once you get past Thanksgiving, it becomes very tough. So really the games for us need to be, from the opening week into, that weekend right before Thanksgiving. So if the LA game doesn't fall in there and Tampa ends up being in December, now where the hell am I going to go? Seattle? Wasn't really looking for that. Dallas is always on the radar, but I've already been there. I spent most of my summer of 2015 working down there. Cool city, fun time. But I've already been there, done that. If we're going to go, I want to go to a stadium I've not been to yet. Because while I am trying to knock off all the baseball ballparks, I've got a life goal of seeing every team play a home game for baseball and for football. So maybe before I die, I'll get there. But anyways, that was all I really had for you guys this week. Kind of light. Had the show been tomorrow night, we'd be talking a ton of NFL schedule. But we'll be looking forward to that tomorrow. Looking forward to when these dates are actually going to happen, and keep looking out for leaks. I know we had a light chat room tonight. I'm assuming, kind of hoping that's a lot about the weather. I hope I'm not losing fans and interest here. But anyways, that was all I had for this week. So Lou, Russ, Keenan, Califoot, thank you guys for stopping in. I very much appreciate it. Anybody who checks us out later on, thank you very much. Please don't forget to share this wherever you can, via Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube's the preferred. It's the best way to interact, but I understand if you're comfortable elsewhere. So for all of us here at the Unhappy Household, to all of you out there I've lost my train of thought. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. This has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We look forward to the schedule release tomorrow. I'll be talking to you all really soon. Guys, start keeping in mind, we started working out some details for our trip in the summer. Start, if you can, start thinking of places that we can, maybe get together for dinner on a Friday night, dinner on a Monday night, lunch on a Friday, something like that. All right. And we'll we'll chat throughout the week, and then we'll regroup again here next week. We'll make that part of the show. All right. Again, this has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show. As always, we love you, and as we thank you, and as always, as we say every week, go Birds! All right, kids. Take care. Thank you again. We'll see you next week.